Shalom. Welcome back. We are continuing with our studies in the ancient Triennial Torah portion, the older reading than the current yearly readings, which most people do. And most probably the reading cycle which was taught by the Master for his 3-year ministry, ending just before Pesach, as one of the cycles in the 7-year time period does end just before Pesach. So, very interesting. Adonai Adonenu ken yhi ratzon ki bayom hazeh אנחנו יכולים ללמוד טוב בעיניך. תשלח נא אבא את רוחך עלינו, כי אנחנו רוצים לראות את פניך. לא לנו ולך יהיה כל הכבוד. All right. So today's Torah portion is Genesis 30, verse 22 through 31, verse 2. And the Haftarah is 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 11 through 22. The Torah portion is called Vayizkor Elohim et Rachel. Then God remembered Rachel. And of course, when God remembers, as Ibn Ezra says, doesn't mean he forgot. It doesn't mean he forgot. It means he decides to take action. It's always very important to remember that biblical Hebrew words are often highly nuanced. So context helps to determine the meaning. Who is the subject? If the subject is a human remembering, then oftentimes it is actual remembering. Although we do have the opposite effect, woe to you who shachach God, who forget God, doesn't necessarily mean that people forgot that God exists, but in that case it's don't serve him. Don't remember his commandments. All right, let's continue. So here you can see on the right side in the ancient Leningrad codex, we have a samech with the sideways comments. That's showing you where the Triennial Torah portion begins. And occasionally there is discrepancy. There were different communities that began in different places, but I will point those out when there's some discrepancy. So let's go ahead and start. Let's scan it. Vayizkor Elohim et Rachel, Vayishma Eleha Elohim, Vayiftach et Rachma. All right. Vayizkor Elohim. Then God remembered et Rachel. Abarbanel comments, responding immediately to what Leah imagined, that she had gotten Rachel's share of the 12 sons. Vayishma Eleha Elohim. And God hearkened to her. Literally, and he listened unto her, God. Vayiftach, and he opened et Rachma, her rechem, her uterus. Oh, hold on, I need to grab my stylus. Hold on a second. Left it in my bag. Here we go. So rechem, resh, chet, mem, and it's a segulet. So the only reason the vowels change to rachma is because we have the suffix on the end, right? So just like if you wanted to say king, melech, if you wanted to say her king, you'd say malka. It follows the same pattern, right? As rechem, rachma, her womb. Genesis chapter 30, verse 23. Okay. V'taha v'telid bein v'tomer asaf Elohim et chepati. Okay. V'telid, and she birthed a bain, a son. Oh, sorry, I missed the top part. What happened here is it's smaller because it's from the bottom of the previous column. Vatahar, and she conceived. Vatahar. This is from the verb hara. Hey, resh, hey. And that final hey oftentimes disappears, right? When the word ends in hey, the hey goes away. So that's why we're just left with the hey and the resh. And she harad, she conceived a bain. I'm sorry, I keep skipping it. My tool is also sitting on top of the other part, so I don't see it. You see it, but I don't see it. Vatahar, and she conceived Vataylid, and she birthed. So this is from Yalad. She yaladed. The yod is missing there, as it normally does. Nothing weird. And she yaladed. She birthed a bain, a son. Vatomer, and she said, Asaf Elohim et cherpati. Asaf Elohim. God has Asaf. He's collected. Et, we don't translate. Cherpati. My cherpa. The word is cherpa, and it went to cherpat because we put the suffix on the end, right? So usually it's cherpa. Oops, I did it like the scribe in the codex says. And that hey becomes a tav because it goes back to the ancient way it ended. In ancient times, it was cherpath. And then by the time we get to Bible times, it had developed into cherpa. Means disgrace. God has collected or removed my disgrace. Asaf can mean to remove. The idea is someone's collecting it and taking it somewhere else. Nachmanides comments, as onkelos, that means Targum onkelos, the Jewish Aramaic translation of Torah, correctly understands, the verb really means that God has collected her disgrace. It will no longer be scattered about among people gossiping in the street. Right, how she can't have kids. That's what the disgrace is, right? It's the perception from other humans. Okay? Verse 24. Vatikra et shemo Yosef lemo Yosef Adonai li ben achel. Okay, sorry, I changed slides by accident. Vatikra, then she called et Shem, the name of him, Yosef, Joseph, Lemo, saying, oh, sorry, I don't know why that's great. Yosef Adonai. I was probably listening to something when I did it. Let's fix this. When I go through and I colorize these things, sometimes I'm listening to somebody on YouTube or something, and I'm just kind of on autopilot. And so I probably saw Yosef. I thought, okay, that's a name. So I colored it gray. But here it's not the name, not his name. Here it's his name. Here it's not. Okay, Yosef. Yosef Adonai. Adonai has added li, to me, a bain, a son, acher, another one. Verse 25. Vayehi kasher yaleda Rachel et Yosef vayomer Yaakov el Lavan shalacheni ve'elecha el mekomi le'atzihi. Vayhi, and it was ka'asher, according to when Yalid she yaladed, she birthed Rachel et Yosef. So it was according to when she birthed, Rachel birthed Yosef, Vayomer Yaakov, that Jacob, he said, El, unto Lavan, unto Laban, Shalacheni, send out me, Ve'elecha, and indeed, and let me go, Now, it might be hard to see that this is go. The word is actually halach. Hey, lamed, kaf. Halach, to go. And this word, the hey at the beginning, disappears. That is not common with all words that begin with hey. It does happen with this one. Ibn Ezra thought there actually were two different words that were synonyms. He didn't think it was the hey disappearing, but time and discovery have proven him wrong on that. Eilecha, and let me go. I colorize it. If you're not familiar with our legend, usually I use the magenta color as emphasis. Red is for definiteness, orange is for a preposition, gray for a name, yellow for a suffix, glowing green, like neon green, for vav conversive, and blue for an affix on a verb, like the person of a verb. Dark green for a conjunction. Right? Ve'elecha. Some people call this the hey emphatic. And indeed I will go, or let me go, el unto mekom e, the makom of e, the place of me, my place. Ule artzi, and to the eretz of e, my eretz, my land. Eretz, 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 eretz Yisrael. Okay, verse 26. Tena. Et nashai, et yaladai, asher avati, otecha, vahen va'elecha, ki ata yada'ata, et avodati, asher avaticha. Kind of a long verse there. If you're just listening, I accidentally drew something when I was just trying to do the arrow, and then I had trouble erasing it. I didn't want to leave it while I was canting. Tana. So this is from Natan. It's a pay noon verb. Those are verbs that begin with a noon. They're called pay noon, like the letter pay. And what happens is the noon disappears often. So this is a command. Tana, give. Et nash I. The nashim of I. That's my wives. Give my wives. The et, and, we don't translate the et, yeladai, my yeladim, my children. Asher whom, or for whom, because it's coming before the verb, so there's some syntax stuff happening there. Avadti, I served. Otecha, you. Bahen, for them. Ve'eilecha, and indeed I will go, or let me go. Again, that's halach there, right? The hay's gone, just like up here. Ki for ata, you yourself, yadata, know. Why did I say you yourself? Like you definitely know? Because it says ata, you, yadata, you know. You know. So this is some kind of special emphasis. We call this an emphatic pronoun when this happens. In other words, if you're just saying you know, you don't need it. True modern Hebrew does this. Modern Hebrew will say ata yadata, right? But, and it's not emphasizing anything, right? But in biblical Hebrew, if you repeat the pronoun like that, like it's built into the verb already. I'll just see where it's colorized in blue. It's built into the verb. That's already you. That means you. The ta is short for the ta and ata. You know, I'll colorize to show you. For those of you who don't know, there's our ta that's over here. Okay? It's like short form for it. It's like we could have said yada'ata, right? But instead we just say yada'ta. So you yourself know, or indeed you know, you definitely know. Et avodat e. That's the avodah, the service, the labor of e, of me, is of. Asher, how or with which, avadticha, I served you. Okay? Any comments or questions? Oh, you know what? I've been wanting to make sure that we read through the codex after each one. So let's just do that real quick. We'll back up. Here. So we're just going to read the codex, okay? One time through normally, without tones and stuff, because some of you don't like the tones. Vayizkor Elohim et Rachel. Vayishma Eleha Elohim. Vayiftach et Rachmah. Vatelid ben. Vatomer Asaf Elohim et Cherpati. So I was trying to make it a female's voice, not to this tone. Vatikra et Shemo Yosef. Lemon. Yosef Adonai li bein Achel. ויהי כאשר ילדה רחל את יוסף, ויאמר יעקב אל לבן, שלחני, ואלך אל מקומי, ולארצי, תנה את נשי ואת ילדי, אשר עבדתי אותך בהן, ואליך, כי אתה ידעת את עבודתי, אשר עבדתיך. Genesis chapter 30, verse 27. Vayomer Eliv. Having a note issue. Why did the note come up? Sorry about that. Okay, do that again. Vayomer Eliv Lavan. Imna matzati chen be'einecha. Nichashti. Vavarecheni Adonai biglalecha. All right, let's translate from the codex. Vayomer Eliv Lavan. Then Laban, he said Eliv unto him, Imna matzati. If now I have found chen, favor, be'einecha, in your eye, nichashti, I have divined. Actually, let me read my note on this. Oh, no, we'll leave it like divined. We'll be literal. I chose divine because in English it has the same kind of possible double entendre. That and has blessed me, Adonai, that Hashem has blessed me, biglalecha, on accord of you. Bishvilcha for the sabers out there. So this verb, nachash or nichesh, in Mishnaic Hebrew and Jewish Aramaic means to foretell. Right? Also in Syriac, to murmur an obscure incantation. Or in Arabic, nachusa, to be ominous. The PL means to seek and give omens or to foretell. Or, according to Rabbi Meir, to have an omen for something. Now this is based on halot. It is also associated with Arabic nachisha in the fifth stem, investigate, according to Fabry in Tidot. Now, you'll see why this. So, I didn't want to put the note up here because I didn't want to have like too much stuff, but in biblical Hebrew, this word means to divine something, right? Like to soothsay, to figure out through soothsaying or some other kind of divination, right? And later, of course, we find out that he has little mini idols and such. Now, Ibn Ezra thinks that in this case here, he writes in his commentary that it just means kemon asa, or like to test something, right? In the same manner as to test something. And I don't know, we don't have this meaning in Ugaritic, which is the closest language to biblical Hebrew. We don't have it in Jewish Aramaic, which is another good one to look to see how our ancestors understood it when they put stuff down in Aramaic, right? There can be this idea of to investigate, possibly in Imperial Aramaic. That is the Aramaic that we have in the few places in the Bible because that was the regional language where those things are happening. Why would Ibn Ezra say this? So I have a theory. I think because Ibn Ezra is a native Arabic speaker, I think he's letting Arabic kind of influence him, right? And he's going with, it's not even the main meaning in the Arabic either. It's the fifth sten. Some lexicons say the fourth sten. stem is to investigate, meaning like it looks the same, but it's different, right? It's kind of like our binyanim, right? So I don't really see why there's evidence for this. But I wanted to share it with you in case I'm wrong, so you guys know. Ibn Ezra does have that opinion, and he's a pretty heavy hitter among the rationalists rabbis. Right? So they usually don't like to think that someone could be using actual divination to find out something in the future, right? So anyway, I think that's the source of his bias, is that Arabic is his native language, and yeah, there's that. This is similar to how we find Israeli Sabras who grew up in secular households oftentimes misunderstanding what the Bible says because they think they know what the word means, but it actually means something different in the modern dialect, the modern Hebrew. So if that happens in Hebrew, from Hebrew to Hebrew, kal v'chomer, how much more so could it happen to someone whose native language is Arabic? So just a thought. That's just my kind of reasoning on pushing back on Ol Ibn Ezra, whom I like. Okay. Verse 28. Vayomaha Novka Nokva Secholcha Alai Vaetena Vayoma. Then he said, Nokva. I expect it to be Nokba. I'm not really sure why there's not a dagesh there, because this is a short, closed, unaccented syllable. We would expect a dagesh from Bagad Kafat, but anyway, it's not there. Maybe it just wore away from the scroll, right? We don't see it. So Nokva or Nokba, this is an imperative saying, pierce through, pierce through. This is similar to the word for female, Nekeva, right? Because the female is like pierced, right? Different than a male. So it's an idiom. It means like to, how would I say it? Like auf Deutsch aktualisieren, right? Like you've kind of got like some fuzzy concept and you're nailing it down. Well, maybe nail down. Sechocha, sechocha, the price of you. Nail down your wage. Alaya, with me. Va'etena. And indeed, I will give it, or I will definitely give. This is the cohortative, or it has emphatic K, that's why I colorized it that way. Verse 29. Vayomer Eliv Ata Yadata Et Asher Avadticha Ve'et Asher Haya Miknecha Iti phone home. Okay, Genesis 30, verse 29. Vayomer, then he said, Eliv unto him, Ataya data. Again, we have that emphatic pronoun there. Let me mark that. Right? Because it says you, yadata, you, yada, you know. Emphatic. You surely know. 8. Asher. How? Avadticha. I have avaded you. How I've served you. The 8. Asher, and how? Haya miknecha. How have been, probably something like how have fared, miknecha, your flocks, iti, with me. Oh, I just thought of something else. The reason I was choosing divine to translate before, also the nichesh, is this happens in English a bit too, what Ibn Ezra is saying, right? In the English language, someone could show up at a party and maybe the host is glaring at them like and whispering to the wife or something. And someone else talks to the guy and says, I divine that you have come uninvited, right? So it's not saying that they're going and like consulting using divination, but the word has developed in English the way that Ibn Ezra seems to think that it developed in biblical Hebrew as well. Okay? So just putting that out there. All right, let's just read one more time. No tones or anything from the codex. Feel free to try to read along. Vayomer Eliv Lavan, Imna matzati chen be'necha, nichashti levaracheni Adonai biglalecha. Vayoma nokva sechalcha alai ve'etena. Vayomer Eliv, ata yadata et asher avadticha, ve'et asher haya miknecha iti. Genesis chapter 30, verse 30. And I'm going to take a drink real quickly, so if you want to scan that while I'm drinking, feel free. Ki me'at asher haya lecha. Ki me'at asher haya lecha. Ki, for, me'at, a little, asher, how, haya lecha, was for you, lefanai, before me. Vayifrotz la'rov, and he burst out la'rov, like for a multitude, for lots. Vayivarech Adonai, vayivarech Adonai, and Adonai, he blessed, otecha, you, l'ragli, literally for, or by, the regel of E, by the foot of me. Ibn Ezra comments, literally for the sake of my foot. The Hebrew idiom is that someone has a lucky foot. In our case, the sense is, you have been blessed from the moment I arrived in your household. Karasik translates wherever I turned. V'ata, v'ata, matai, ya'aseh gam anochi leveti. So now, matai, when, say I will do, or make, gam, also, anochi, I, leveti, for my house. Excuse me. Any comments or questions? I'm sorry. It's not easy to mute with my current setup. Genesis chapter 30, verse 31. Vayomer, no. Vayomer ma etein lach. Vayomer Yaakov lo titen li. I can't see the tom there. Lo titen li me'oma. Im ta'aseh li hadavar hazeh. Ashuva e'et tzonecha eshmo. Vayomer. Then he said, oops, I didn't line those up perfectly. Sorry. Ma, here's another ma. What? Etain shall I give? Notice that was natan. In ancient Hebrew, en tain became et tain. What shall I give lech to you? Vayomer. And he said, Yaakov. Yaakov said, Lo titen li, you shall not give to me me'uma, a thing. Pay me nothing. The Bechor Shor comments, since my wages will be the kinds of animals that are never naturally born, or they're very rare. If ta'aseh li, you will do for me or to me, hadavar hazeh, this thing, literally the thing, this one, ashuva, let me return, then I will return, I will pasture, so necha, your sheep, your flock, Ishmael, I will safeguard. And the reason for the spacing here, you might notice a weird line in the codex. That's because this one is the top of the next column, right? So we're at the bottom of the column up above, and then we jump to the next column, and there's just one word from that column. So that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Genesis chapter 30, verse 32. Okay, looks like I made a mistake in my slide here. This first word should not be grayed out, sorry. Oh no, okay. Hayom Haser misham kose nakod vetalu vechosechum bakesavim vetalu venakod ba'izim v'hayea sechari. Okay. Vol. I will cross over bechol tzonecha, among all of your sheep, all of your flock, hayom, today. Haser, removing misham, that's min sham, became misham, from there, kol, all of se, all of, or each lamb, nakod, nakod. Now, nakod, you might know this. This is where we get the nikod from, like the little dots for the vowels that are at the bottom. Nakod is speckled. Vetalu. Talu is spotted, like in a sheep, a spotted sheep. Vechol se, and every lamb or every sheep that is chum. Now, chum, don't be confused with chum. Chum is undefined color. It's an undefined color somewhere between black and white. So it's not white, it's not black, it's somewhere in between. That's according to Halot, right? Like the number one scholarly Hebrew lexicon. DCH, which is also heavy here, it just says brown, like similar to the modern Hebrew. Some lexicons, I think Gesenius may hint at, some say a reddish color even. Which brown in an animal sometimes people will call red. Ba kesavim, among the kesevs, among the lambs, the male lambs. Vitalu, and spotted. Vinakod, and speckled. Ba'izim, among the goats. V'haya, and that shall be, and it will be, sechar-i, the wage of me. Any comments or questions? Again, sorry about the grayed out. This part should not have been grayed out. That's my bad. Okay. Let's go back. I don't think I read the codex by itself normally, right? Did I do the last one also? Yeah. From verse 30. Ki me'at asher haya lecha lefanai vayifrotz la'rov vayivarech Adonai otecha lechagli ve'ata matai e'esei gam anochi leveiti. Verse 31 from the codex, normal reading. Vayomer etein lach, vayomer Yaakov, lo titen li me'uma, im ta'aseh li hadavar hazeh, ashuva er'i tzonecha eshmo. Verse 32. E'avo bechol tzonecha hayom haser misham kol se nakod v'talu. V'chol sechum ba'kesavim v'talu v'nakod ba'izim v'haya sechari. So he's picking like rare items that are not so common. So Laban thinks he's getting a good deal. He thinks it's a good deal. He's picking all these rare ones that don't pop up as often as one would expect. All right, Genesis chapter 30, verse 33. Ve'anato bi tzidkati b'yom machar ki tovo al sechari lefanecha. Let's stop at the Nachta. Ve'anato bi. So answer me. Sid, will answer for me. What will answer for him? What will speak for him, kind of? Tzidkati, my righteousness, my justice, my tzedakah. The tzedakah of me. Beyom machar, on the day, tomorrow. Ki tavo le'al sechari, for she will bring, meaning his tzedakah, le'al sechari, with my wage, lefanecha, before you. Kol asher einenu, everything which was not his, which is not with him, nakod v'talu, which is not speckled or spotted, ba'izim, among the goats, vechum, or somewhere in the range of color from black to white, ba'kesavim, among the young sheep, male sheep, ganuvahu iti, stolen is it, iti, with me. So he's like saying, this is how you know if I stole something. You can tell what's happening here, guys. He's probably already heard murmurs from Laban's sons, right? Because we're going to learn that Laban's sons are complainers about him, and they speak motzi shemra. They bring about a bad reputation unjustly, even. So he seems to be answering directly to that, doesn't he? Right? Because why even mention ganuv? There were no vocal accusations of theft, but there have been, haven't there? Genesis chapter 30, verse 34. Vayom Lavan, hein lu yehi kidvarecha. Vayomer Lavan. Then Laban, he said, hein, like, so mote it be. Lu, it shall be, like, indeed. Yehi, indeed it will be, brother. Kidvarecha. Ki is according to Deval, the word of cha, of you, according to your word. Lu we don't see so often. I think this is evidence of Laban's speech patterns. Verse 35. Vayasar vayom hahu. So he removed on the day that one, et hatayashim. A tayash is a billy goat. He removed the billy goats. Ha-akudim. Ha-akudim, the speckled ones. Or banded. Right. I made a note for you guys to remember this. It's like, think about the Akeda, right? The banded or stripes. I don't know why I said speckled. Banded or stripes. Like, imagine the ropes tied around Isaac, right? When he's being taken as a sacrifice. He's being put up as a sacrifice. He's tied up, right? So it's called the Akida, right? The Akida. The Akeda. I said it in Aramaic. The Akeda, the binding of Isaac. Right? Because the binds, right? So you can think of those kinds of binds, like stripes, being on animals, akod. Right? So ha-akudim. So the striped ones, the ha-tiluim, and the spotted or patchy, it can mean patched, like with patches on them. Ve'et and kol ha'izim, and all of the goats, hanikudot, who are speckled. And this we don't translate, that's just a white space marker. The ha-tiluot, and the female spotted ones, kol asher lavan, all who were white. Again, this should not be Laban. Again, I'm listening to something when I'm colorizing it. And so I made it gray because that's his name, right? His name is Whitey. Mr. White. Again, I think he's an albino. Like Muhammad. Bo, with him. Vechol chum, but all the ones who are off-colored, like somewhere between black and white. Ba kesavim, in the kesavim, in the kesevs, which are the young sheep, the young male sheep. Vayittain. So this is, of course, from Natan. Nun is inside there. Yintan became Yittan, and he gave Beyad Banaif into the hand of his sons. Now come back to this Asher Lavan. You're going to see it's a wordplay, which it got me when I'm listening to something colorizing it. Starna says that had white on it. That's the Asher Lavan. Is a play on the name Laban, which recurs in verse 37. It conveys the idea of Jacob beating Laban at his own game. How's that? Beat him at his own game. Excuse me. All right, let's read through the Hebrew in the codex again. No tones or anything this time. Ve'anata bi tzidkati b'yom macha ki tavo al sechari lefanecha kol asher enenu nakod v'talu ba'izim v'chum ba'kesavim ganuvahu iti. Verse 34. Vayom Lavan hain Lu yehi kidvarecha. 35. Vayasa bayom hahu et hateashim ha'akudim v'hateluim ve'et kol ha'izim ha'nekudot v'hateluot kol asher lavan bo v'chol chum ba'kesavim v'yitein b'yad banav. Sorry, sometimes when I move the cursor, it draws by accident. Okay, so let's do this. It is now time for your stretch break, your tea break, coffee break, bathroom break, whatever you need. Let's take about 3.5 minutes. I will play a Hebrew Literacy original song, and when it's done playing, we're coming back. Until then.
Into your hand, b'yadcha are my times. Itai, rescue me, Hatzileni, from the hand miyad of my enemy, oyevai. And from those who chase me, umeroidfai. In your hand are my times, biyadcha itai.
Rescue me, Hatzileni,
Hey, welcome back. Glad you had a good stretch, good break. Let's continue now with Genesis chapter 30, verse 36. Vayasem derech sheloshet yamim beno ven Yaakov. Okay, let's stop at the Etnachta, then we'll continue. Vayasem, that is from the word seem. Seem. It's a hollow verb, so the yod has disappeared. The yod would be right there between the sin and the mem. Then he placed, vayasem, a derech, a way or road, shaloshet yamim, of 3 days. Literally it's shaloshet yamim, 3 of days. Vein, between him, uvein, and between Yaakov. Yaakov ro'eh et son lavan hanotarot. Okay. Yaakov and Jacob ro'eh pastured et son Lavan, the sheep of Lavan, Laban's. Sorry, something popped up. I had to pause. Hanotarot, the remaining ones. This is from the root yeter. Yeter, it's a nifal participle from yeter, the remaining ones, the leftover ones. Verse 37. Vayikach lo Yaakov makah livnei lach veluz ve'armon vayfatzel bahen petzalot levanot machsov halavan asher al hamaklot. All right. A lot of stuff happening in that verse, verse 37. Vayikach. So that is from the word lakach. The lamed is hiding down inside of the kuf. That's why we have a strong dogish there. Vayilkach became vayikach. Okay. Vayikach lo. Then he took for himself Yaakov. So then Jacob took for himself makal, like a branch or a staff, livnei, of white. Oh, it's not light. I'm sorry, that'd be lavan. It's from the same root. Livnei is a kind of tree, actually. White poplar, or here, I'll show you a picture. The storax tree or poplar, right? Lach. Lach means like moist or fresh. It's related to the word leach, meaning moisture. Lose, lose, and lose. This is a hapax legomenon, meaning a word that only occurs one time in all of Scripture, which means almond tree. It's not the usual word we use for almond tree. Ve'armon and armon. Oh, interesting. Here it's pointing armon, but here it's clearly segol. You guys notice that? Here, that's interesting. See, we see it's a segol here, but it's a patach here. Huh, interesting. Here's a picture of that kind of tree. Armon is called a plane tree. According to the ancient versions, that's what this is. They all translated it that way. So we're pretty sure, since they all agreed, the Syriac, Septuagint, Latin, etc., Greek, everybody agrees it's a plane tree, this kind of tree. Vayfatzel, and he stripped, like to strip off, bahen, from them. I'm going to understand that. Bait sometimes means from. Petzalot, strips of levanot. or strips for the levanot, strips for the poplars. This machsof also means like stripping, like causing to be stripped. So vayfatzel bahen petzalot levanot. Then he stripped off in them, perhaps is better, petzalot, strips, levanot, white. I should have made that orange there, sorry. It's not like four daughters. Another listening error for the colorizing. But it's quite a bit of work to colorize all that, so hopefully you guys understand. White strips, machsof, stripping, or you can, oh, hold on, we didn't have that one. Or you can understand, this is again a hapax legomenman, a peeling or stripping, to leave bare the wood under the bark of a tree, right? Halavan, the white, like maybe leaving bare the white, instead of saying stripping so many times in English. Asher, which, the al was upon, hamaklot, the rods, or the staff, the twigs, the branch, the part that he pulled off. All right, verse 38. Vayatzeg et hamaklot asher pitzel bohatim beshiktot hamayim. Verse 38. Vayatzeg et hamaklot. And he caused to natsag. He positioned the branches, the rods, asher which pitzel, he stripped, bar hatim, at the rehatim, the troughs, the watering troughs. Beshiktot hamayim. When this just again means like watering troughs of mayim. I'm not really sure why the two different words here. The rehatim, often seen as rohatim, and the shiktot, both are watering troughs. So maybe this is intended to be when watering of the water. So in the troughs of the water, I think, is really what makes more sense. But these words are synonyms, rehatim and shiktot. Asher, which were, or when, tavona, should have been blue over here and let me fix this. And should also be blue. Where were we? When they came, oh, that's too dark. This one. Here we go. That's feminine, plural. When they came, namely, who? Hatzon, the sheep. Lishtot, to drink. Lenochach, directly facing Hatzon, the sheep. Vayecham na. Vayecham na. This should also be colorized. You notice this one has a hey at the end, and the one over here didn't. That's just a defective spelling of the same thing. This is when they would be in heat. Bevona. When they came, lishtot, to drink. And I should have, so you won't be confused, should have marked out this next verse. That is not what we're reading on this page. There we go. Okay. Woo! A lot of interesting words and stuff there. Now I will read again, just from the codex. All right? Just from the Leningrad codex. Vayasem derech shaloshet yamim beino uvein Yaakov. V'Yaakov ro'eh et tzon lavan hanotarot. Verse 37. Vayikach lo Yaakov makal livnei. I should say makal livnei lach. Veluz ve'almon. Vayifatzel bahen petzalot levanot. Machsof halavan asher al hamakolot. Verse 38. Vayatzeg. No, don't draw there. Let's do this. Vayatzeg et hamakolot asher pitzel borohatim. See, look, we have different vowels here than over there. Remember I mentioned we would expect rohatim, but it's just rehatim. Borohatim. Veshiktot hamayim. Asher tavona tzon lishtot. Lenochach hatzon. Vayechamna bevolna lishtot. All right. Genesis chapter 30, verse 39. Vayechemu hatzon el hamaklot. Vateladna hatzon. Akudim nikudim utiluihim. Okay. Vayechemu. Pardon me. Vayechemu. Then when they were in heat, hatzon, the sheep, el hamaklot, unto the staff. So the idea is that they bred in front of the sticks, right? The text literally says, Vayechem u, and they yacham, which is just variant of chama, and they were in heat, hatzon, the sheep, the flock, el hamaklot, unto the, or like near the staves. Vateladna, sorry, that should be blue. Then they would birth hatzon, the flock, the akudim, stripe. Remember, like the akedah, nikudim, patched or spotted, utiluim, and patchy. Nikodim is probably more like speckled, right? Like the nikuds, and tiluim like patches. The birth of the streaked offspring was caused by the power of visual maternal impression. This is Ibn Ezra talking. The animals gazed at the peeled rods during mating, and the imagination is extremely powerful at the moment of conception, impressing the seen image upon the offspring. Ibn Ezra stresses that this is a natural phenomenon known to experts in nature and to shepherds. Now, I don't know if this is true. I heard Rabbi Mizrahi talking one time about, you have like a Norwegian gal gave birth to a black dude, and the husband thought she had cheated. The husband was also Norwegian, Swedish or Norwegian, one of those Northern Europeans. And turned out the DNA, it's his kid, right? And the story goes that she was looking at a poster of a basketball player while they were copulating, right? So, again, this is Mizrahi. He exaggerates a whole lot, right? So, I think he's kind of fast and loose with the truth sometimes, as long as it gives more faith. So, be careful who you repeat this to. I'm not sure that there's really. I mean, the other explanation that commentators give is the idea of sympathetic magic, and I really, almost like willing it to happen. And I feel a little uncomfortable with that as well. So maybe somebody has a better explanation. Probably it's just a miracle, right? Because he thought it's going to work. Hashem decided to make it work to bless him, right? At least he's putting in the work, right? Sometimes we can do something that is incorrect logically to make something happen, and Hashem just decides to bless us anyway. All right, verse 40. Veha kesavim hifrid Yaakov. Then the lambs Yaakov separated. Vayitain panei hatzon, And he placed before the flock, before the sheep, el la'akod, unto, or by la'akod, the striped, v'chol and every brown or somewhere between black and white, betzon lavan, among the sheep of Laban. Vayashet, the dot in the middle of the sheen threw me off for a sec in the codex. And he placed, lo, for him, adarim levado, herds alone. Velo shatam, atzon lavan. And he did not place them. I should have colorized that. It's from the verb sheet, right? So there's the middle yod has disappeared. Sheets. He didn't stand them. Near Tzon Lavan, the sheep of Laban. Genesis 30, verse 41. V'haya v'chol yachem hatzon hamekusharot v'sam Yaakov et hamaklot le'einei hatzon bochatim le'achmeina bamaklot. Okay, long verse. V'haya, and it was, b'chol yachem hatzon, when all of the sheep were in heat, where is it? Hamekusharot. No, it doesn't mean they're kosher. This is a pu'al participle form. It means the sturdy ones, right? Like they're connected really well. They've got good companionship. So all of the tzon, hamekusharot, the ones who were mekusharot, were sturdy. Vesam Yaakov, then Jacob would place et hamaklot, the rods, le einei hatzon, in the eyes of the sheep. Boro hatim, at the watering troughs. Oops, didn't mean to draw there, sorry. Leyach mena, when they were in heat, or they would go to heat, bamaklot, by the rods. Interesting animal husbandry tactics. Let's read just from the codex again. Oh, I just see something I need to fix. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah. Vayechemu hatzon el hamaklot. Vateladna hatzon. Rakudim, nekodim, uteluim. Verse 40. Vehakev vasim hifrid Yaakov. Vayiten panei hatzon el rakod. Vecholchum betzon lavan. Vayashet lo adarim levado. Velo shatam al tzon lavan. Verse 41. Vehaya bechol yachem hatzon hamekusharot vesam Yaakov et hamaklot la'einei hatzon borohatim leyachmena bamaklot. And here we do. Here we are. We are at the end of the Torah portion. Yay, you made it. I got something fun for you after this, so sit tight. Genesis 30, verse 42. Oveha'atif hatzon lo yasim, vehaya ha'atufim lelavan, V'akshuim leYaakov. Okay? So this is a little bit tricky, this word. So it's from ataf, like to languish, to be weak, but it's an infinitive. It's an infinitive. So the infinitive is a very interesting form in Hebrew, and it's actually acting like a noun concept. So uve ha'atif, and among the ones who were sickly, hatzon, among the sickly sheep, lo yasim, he didn't place. V'haya, and it was ha'atufim, that the sickly ones, le Lavan, were Laban's, or they became Laban's. V'haya la it means to become. When you have haya plus lamed, it's like an idiom. V'hakshurim, but the sturdy ones, le Yaakov, were Jacob's. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan writes that Jacob deliberately used the rods only when the stronger animals were in heat, early mating season. So the stronger offspring were born, streaked, speckled, spotted. In other words, his wages. While the weaker offspring, born later in the season without the rods, were solid colored, Laban's. This was a brilliant selective breeding strategy that ensured Jacob received the stronger animals, whether the rods worked by visual suggestion, chemical stimulation, or miracle. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan is the rabbi who was also a physicist, and he grew up kind of secular on the streets, and then he had Orthodox friends, religious friends, who kind of took him in, and he learned Hebrew at a later age, and just kind of really ran with it. And eventually he stopped being a physicist later on in life and went full-time rabbi. So kind of cool. He translated many works and stuff, really, really kind of a neat story. He's the one who famously said, all translation is commentary. Verse 43. Vayifrotz ha'ish me'od me'od, vayhilo tzon rabot, v'shefachot v'avadim, u'gemalim v'chamorim. Okay. Vayifrotz ha'ish, and the man bursted out. It means he was successful. Me'od me'od, very much, very much. Vayhilo, and there was to him tzon rabot, many flocks, many sheep. U'shefachot, and female servants. Va'avadim, and male servants. U'gemalim, and camels. V'chamorim, and donkeys. By the way, camels is a real indicator of wealth in that time period. They were not yet common in the area of the Middle East. So this was a sign of wealth to have camels. That's why Avraham Avinu sent his servant with camels, so that Rivka's family would see, oh, he's definitely successful. Look at all the camels carrying stuff, not just donkeys carrying it. Genesis 31, verse 1. Vayishma et divrei v'nei Lavan lemor lakach Yaakov et kol asher le'avinu. Vayishma. Then he heard, or when he heard, et divrei v'nei Lavan, the words of the sons of Laban, lemor, saying, or then he heard, lakach Yaakov, Jacob has taken et kol asher le'avinu, everything which belonged to our father. Ume asher le'avinu, and that which was belonging to our father, asa et kol hakavod, he has made into kol hakavod hazeh, all of this great wealth. All of this, and from that which belonged to our father, he's made into all of this great wealth. Don't think, people say kol kavod, right? Kol kavod. It's not like the modern expression. Yeah? Okay. Chapter 31, verse 2. Vaya Yaakov et panei Lavan, v'hinei einenu erimo kitmo shilshom. Vaya Yaakov, then Jacob saw, he noticed, et panei Lavan, the face of Laban. V'hinei, and behold, einenu, it was not erimo, with him, kitmol, like tomol, like yesterday. Sometimes etmol, the aleph falls away. Like yesterday, shilshom. Shilshom means the day before yesterday. The root is shalosh, right? 1, 2, 3. The idea is that if today is number 1, yesterday is number 2, and then the third day in the past is shilshom. So shilshom means the day before yesterday. And one final comment here on the Torah from Kimchi, people also know him as Radak, which is just an acronym for Rabbi David Kimchi. The change in Laban's countenance in verse 2 was caused by hearing his son's complaints, verse 1, that Jacob had taken their father's wealth. The son's words poisoned Laban's attitude. Terrible. It's terrible. Okay, today we're going to do the Haftorah, but in a kind of special fun way. Some of you who are Sha'ar members or above over on Patreon have already done this, but in a much slower way. We're going to go through the Haftorah. Oh, wait, hold on. We're going to go through the Haftorah, which is 1 Samuel chapter 1, starts with verse 11. So we did this and more with this Hebrew Literacy original comic with the biblical Hebrew in there. So it's going to make it fun. I don't know why the bottom verse is in white. Sorry about that. But what we're going to do today, we're just going to read through it, okay, and then maybe quickly translate. I'm not going to explain grammar and all that stuff, just so the Haftorah doesn't take too long, because usually we haven't had time for the Triennial Haftorah lately. All right. So this is Hannah. She's praying, and this is Eli, right, the high priest. Vatido neder vatoma. Then she vowed a vow, and she said, Adonai Tzevaot, O Master of Legions, im ra'ot tir'eh, if indeed you have noticed, ba'ani, my affliction, the affliction of amatecha, of your maidservant, uzechartani, then might you remember me, velo, and not tishkach, forget, et amatecha, your maidservant. Venatato, that you may give la amatecha, to your maidservant, zera, offspring, anashim, of man. Onetativ, then I will give him, ladonai, to Hashem, kol yemei chayav, all the days of his life, umora, and a blade, lo ya'aleh, will not go up, al rosho, upon his head. Verse 12. Vehayaki hirbeto, and it was as she made lengthy, or many, lehit palel, praying, lifnei Adonai, before Adonai, ve'eli shomer et piha, that Eli was watching over her mouth, like he's paying attention to her lips moving. Vechana hi medabed alibah. Now Hannah, she was speaking from her heart, or upon her heart, or maybe in her mind, right? It means like she's saying the prayer in her mind silently, not how Jews usually pray. Rak sefateha, only her lips, naot, were trembling. V'kola, but her voice, lo yishamea, from yin shamea, nifal, was not heard. V'yachshaveha, Eli, the shikora. And Eli thought her to be drunk. Hold on. Did we miss verse 13? Okay, we got it. Okay, we got it. Verse 14. Vayomer eleha Eli. So Eli said to her, Ad matai tish takarin, hasiri et yenech me'alayich. Until when will you indeed be drunk? Remove your wine from with you. Verse 15. Vato'an, it's Anna, but the hay is gone. Chana. Then Chana answered, she Anad. Vatomer, and she said, Lo Adoni, Isha keshat ruach anochi, v'yain v'shecha lo shatiti, v'eshpoch et nafshi, lifnei Adonai. No, my Lord. Isha keshat ruach, a woman of harshness of spirit, anochi am I. V'yain v'shecha, but wine and liquor, lo shatiti, I have not drank. Va'eshpoch, but I have shafach, I poured out, et nafshi, my spirit, lifnei Adonai, before Hashem. Verse 16. Al titen et amatecha, do not place, set, it's like consider really, your maidservant, lifnei bat Belial, before, like in the presence of a daughter of worthlessness. Ki merov sichi, but from an abundance of my musing, my thinking, v'cha'asi, and of my vexation. Dibati, I have spoken, ad hena, until now. Verse 17. Vaya an Aili vayomer. Then Aili answered and he said, Lechi, or Lechi, leshalom. V'eta Elohei Yisrael yitain et shelatech asher sha'alt me'imo. Lechi, this is a command to a woman. From halach, the hay fell away. Go, leshalom, peacefully. Ve'Elohei Yisrael, and the God of Israel, yitain, will give et shelatech, your she'ela, like your question, really means like your request. Asher, which sha'alt, you requested, me'imo, from with him. Verse 18. Va'tomer, then she said, Timtsa shivchatecha chayin ba'einecha. Your maidservant has found favor in your eyes. Continue on with verse 18. Va'teilech haisha ledakah va'tochal ufaneha lo hayula v'ad. Va'teilech, it's halach, haisha. So the woman went ledakah, on her way. Va'tochal, and she ate, ufaneha, and her face, lo hayula, it was not to herself, Lord, anymore, to her. The idea is, it's an idiom. She wasn't sad anymore, right? Not long-faced. Verse 19. Vayashkimu va'boker vayishtachavu lifnei Adonai. Then she got up early in the morning, and she prostrated down before Adonai. Vayashuvu, then she returned. Vayava'u, and she came el beitam, unto their house, haramatha, at Ramath. Vayeda Elkanah. Then Elkanah knew, he slept at Chana with Chana, Ishto, his wife. Vayizkor Adonai, and Adonai remembered her. So we can certainly see why this is the ancient Triennial Haftarah, right? It's very, very similar to Rachel saying, give me sons or I'll die, right? Verse 20. Vayhi litkufot hayamim v'tahar chana. And it was at the, tekufah is like a cycle, the cycle, hayamim, of the days, v'tahar, that's from hara, the hay fell away, and became pregnant, Hannah. She became pregnant. V'tailed, and she allotted, she birthed a bain, a son. V'tikra, and she called et Shemo, his name, Shemuel. It's so nice. God hears. That's what his name means, right? The ayin is just dropped off. Ki me Adonai she'ilitiv, for from Adonai I requested him. All right, I maybe I'm wrong in the Adonai hears. It's an acronym. The she is from the sha'al, right? So asked, and the me is from the from, and then the el for Adonai, because we don't have Adonai's name in an actual name. So Shemuel, very nice. And the text doesn't tell us, but I like to envision that Penina grew up a bit and they were friends now, right? She's happy that she's got a kid finally. Yet they have shalom bayit, peace in the house. So I hope you guys enjoyed that rapid subset from our mini graphic novel over on Patreon. You can check out those classes. We go through it much slower and explain all the words and such in some lessons back. I think we did the First Samuel. Or right, it was all of First Samuel. It was a reading on one of the holidays during the high holidays. All right, what's our lekach today? We see in our Torah a pattern of proper ethic for success. One is godly living. Yaakov was a righteous man. He lived in a godly way. Two, the use of one's mind. So he expected and counted on God, but he also used his mind to strategize, to plan. What was he going to do to make those wages that had gotten stolen from him grow anyway, that it might be a successful venture anyway? Three, he took massive action. He thought of a plan and he implemented it. Whether we fully understand what's going on with the rods, the different colors, the whiteness and the using them to get the animals excited or whatever, who knows? The point is he did something. Doing something is better than doing nothing and just counting on a miracle. The sages teach repeatedly, we are not supposed to count on miracles. Yes, we can hope for them, but we should be taking action as if we're on our own. It seems like our Father appreciates that. And then he blesses our action. The other lesson I think we have today, which is kind of subtle in the text, it's just for a moment you get this hint about this, is that we should be wary in complaining about family to family. Think how Lavan's sons poisoned the relationship with Israel. They seemed okay up until this point, right? But his greedy sons are complaining, oh, that Jacob has taken everything. You be careful if you complain, especially if it's about finances that have gone to somebody, right? Be careful. Be careful complaining about family to family, right? If you're going to complain to the one who's responsible, right? Like if one person is, you feel is responsible for the stuff, fine, you can complain to their face about it. But they're complaining about Jacob behind his back to the father. And it's not just Lashon Hara. It's not just wicked speech, right? We know Lashon Hara is when you say something that is true that's bad about somebody else, and it defames them. It brings their character down, right? Oh, so-and-so is so lazy, that one, blah, blah, blah. It might be true, but you're not supposed to say it, right? You're assassinating their character with truth. Motzi Shemra, bringing out an evil name, a bad name, is when it's not even true. It's like the worst form of Lashon Hara. People oftentimes misunderstand gossip to mean like, something not true. No. The gossip the Bible warns about is true usually. But in the second case, it's Motzi Shemra. Now, he didn't steal anything from Lavan, but it's true. He did use his wit to make the deal, the contract that they both entered into, to work in his favor. Nothing wrong with that. So you could actually argue that his sons are saying something true in a way, though they're exaggerating a bit. But it's poisoning the relationship. It's making Yaakov Avinu somehow look like a bad guy in Laban's eyes. And in the end, Laban didn't get to have his grandchildren around him anymore, right? They moved. It surely accelerated Yaakov's understanding that he had to get out of Dodge. Because we're told, the text said, Vayah, he saw Lifnei Lavan, the face of Laban, right? It wasn't the same as it had been Etmol, yesterday, or Shilchom, or 3 days from today, right? The day before yesterday. So again, the pattern of proper ethic for success from the Torah, godly living, right? So live by the mitzvot, by the commandments, use one's mind, and take massive action. Then don't do destructive behaviors, don't engage in destructive behaviors such as gossiping, especially against family. And of course, this extends to our spiritual family, members of our kahal, our congregation. A quick blessing. Let's say this blessing that's on the page here. For you know who? Mi shebarach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, hu yavarech et chayalei tzava hagana l'Yisrael, ha'omedim al mishmar atzenu, ve'arei Eloheinu, migvul halevanon ve'ad midbar Mitzrayim, u'min hayam hagadol ve'ad levo ha'arava, ve'yabasha, ve'avir, ve'yam. Yitain Adonai et oyevenu hakamim aleinu nigafim lifnehem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishmor v'yatzil et chayaleinu mikol tzara v'tzuka mikol nega u'machala v'yishlach bracha v'hatzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadehem v'yihi ratzon milefanecha שתשמרם בחייהם ותעזרם במלחמתם ותבוא עליהם ברכת טוב לעד עד. Amen. May He who blessed our forefathers Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, may He bless the fighters of the Israeli Defense Forces who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God from the border of the Lebanon to the desert of Egypt and from the great sea unto the approach of the Arava on the land, in the air, and on the sea. May the Almighty cause the enemies who rise up against us to be struck down before them. May the Holy One, blessed be He, preserve and rescue our fighters from every trouble and distress and from every plague and illness, and may He send blessing and success in their every endeavor. May He lead our enemies under our soldiers' sway, and may He grant them salvation and crown them with victory, and may there be fulfilled for them the verse, for it is Adonai your God who goes with you to battle your enemies for you to save you. And now for the Birkat HaKohanim, also called, we call it in these days also the Melchizedek blessing. Ein lano Kohen, ein lano Levi. We don't have a priest from Aaron right now, or a Levi. I say it bracha zot. I will say this blessing achrei seder Melchizedek, after the Melchizedek order. Ki yesh lano Kohen b'shamayim mima'al Yeshua shemo. For we have a priest in the heavens. Yeshua is his name. Yevarechech Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panai velecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panai velecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Shavuot Tov. Have a great week ahead. Look forward to seeing you all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for our studies throughout the week and any additional studies I might put out there. I hope you will enjoy. Till then, shalom, shalom. Be blessed.